Hello there, thanks so much for tuning in. So I'm Tim, and this is a channel all about my hobbies, and today's hobby is Adeptus Titanicus, or I guess now you could also say Legions Imperialis. I've been saying that I'm going to make this video for quite some time now, so really sorry about the delay. But yeah, this is a showcase of my Legio Praesagus, Titan Legion, and accompanying House Vornher Knight household. So I started collecting Adeptus Titanicus sometime during lockdown, more than likely 2021, because 2020 was the year of Animal Crossing. I picked up a lone warlord to begin with. I've loved this model ever since I used to go to Forge World Open Days with my best mate Dean, and they released a 2 foot tall 30k one. So naturally, this was going to be my first foray into the Legio. The Warlord, it's really intricate and detailed as a model, but it never felt tricky or complicated to build, which is just amazing. I loved that there were spaces for magnets from the outset, so no faffing required like the older style Titans. I did push the boat out a bit with the paint scheme on this one, and yeah, just went for stripes as much as possible. Then GW released the Precept Maniple box set, and it was an absolute fucking steal. In it you got a Warlord, the Nemesis Warbringer, a Reaver, and 2 Warhound Titans. So to right, I snapped that up straight away, and I can't remember what order I then painted it in, but yeah, the second Warlord is still unpainted at this time. I think though that it was the Warbringer that I worked on next. I had absolutely no grasp of the rules or maniple structuring at this point in time. We were all isolating, so there was no game playing, so I didn't really feel it necessary to actually read up on the rules parts of the books, just the fluff and, you know, pore over the colour plates to look for inspiration for Titan schemes. So absolutely, again, the Warbringer was a treat to build and put together, and super easy to magnetise. I've magnetised the arm guns, I've magnetised the shoulder, like the pintle weapons, the anti-air. The main cannon doesn't actually need magnetising, it is quite a snug fit, so that's all good. I love the idea of them just standing back and shelling enemy Titans and now enemy infantry and tanks from afar. And actually there's a Maniple, which is one of these with 2 Warhounds and the option of another 2. And basically the Warbringer gets bonuses or no setbacks for firing indirectly, so long as the Warhounds can draw line of sight on its target. It was around this time that I started to collect the campaign books like the Doom of Moloch, Defense of Riser, Shadow and Iron, which is where this Legio comes from. I kind of picked up one every month or every other month as and when sort of furlough pay allowed me to. Then in recent times I got a little bit worried that the game was going to fizzle out. So then when they released the Loyalist and the Traitor Legio books, I thought that might be kind of like them wrapping it up in a neat bow. So I grabbed both of those. Then there was the Matched Play guide as well came out, and still I wasn't sure whether or not it was continuing or if this was like the final hurrah of it all. And then eventually they've just released the campaign compendium, and whilst I do have pretty much all of that content, it is nice to have it in a book, and since I'd gone this far, why not complete the collection? But yeah, I was worried that this game, because I was in isolation, I wasn't really sure how well supported it was, and certainly at my LGS no one had ever played it before I played it. And that isn't really boasting. There's been a few people there collecting and painting, etc., but no one had ever gone down for a game. And so when I spoke to Chris, the manager, owner of our LGS, absolutely awesome guy, awesome LGS. If you're in the Taunton area, check it out. But yeah, we've now since started a 80 group chat on there. We've got a few more people interested. Obviously, Legions Imperialis is going to get more people building and painting Titans and Knights, so that's super exciting. But yeah, needless to say, I'm very relieved that it looks like this game is not going anywhere thanks to Legions Imperialis and them working side by side. So up next are my 4 Warhound Titans, which I foolishly batch painted. It very nearly killed me. Don't batch paint Titans. The trim the amount of trim that you're doing then in one go is too much for any one person to bear. So I got the extra 2 Warhounds that are here from picking up the starter box set. I guess I needed to, really, the rules, the templates, the dice, etc. And in that you got 2 Warhounds, 2 Reavers and 2 of the Cerastus Knight Lancers. So I'm really proud of how the Warhounds turned out, especially the posing, which is limited with these models, and I'm not one for chopping and changing really and kit bashing and sort of leg reposing and all of that kind of business. But I feel that they've still managed to come out quite characterful, and I'm super fond of this one with the chevrons on the top. I absolutely love this scheme. I did leave the cables off of the weapons that are meant to attach to the torso, and worked through magnetising each of them. Now I haven't actually painted up the other weapon options, so they can be swapped around with what I have, but in terms of actually adding on other weapons, not at the minute. It's very rare that I am fielding all 4 Warhounds in one go currently, so yeah, they can chop and change amongst themselves. Also, I feel completely vindicated in that magnetising decision, which isn't easy because the kit isn't made to be magnetised, which is a real shame and a problem with the 2 older chassis of Titan. But with the LI box set, the starter box coming out, and them announcing the new plastic weapons, the Ursus Claw, there's like a missile launcher that looks really awesome. There's some great stuff, and yeah, I'm so glad that I have magnetised them and that they should then be easily compatible with the new weapons. You might have noticed that there's something missing from all of my Titans. Transfers. And that's basically because Games Workshop never released a transfer sheet for Legio Praesagus. I had been holding out for the hopes that one day they would do it, but it really doesn't look like they will now. So there goes my chances of getting an official sheet, but I have heard word that on the Maximal Fire Discord server there is someone who has made their own version of it. So I'm already on the Discord server, I guess I just need to crack on and track it down. As soon as I do get certain transfers on them, then I'll be able to add a little bit of battle damage as well, wear and tear. Nothing too heavy, I don't want to go overboard, I quite like the way that my Titans look, but just some like dusting around the feet and legs where they've been stomping, and maybe some grime streaks, things like that. Then we come on to my last 2 finished Titans, a pair of Reavers. I do still have a handful of currently unfinished Titans. I have 1 more Reaver, the aforementioned 1 more Warlord, the one with the other options on it, the missile stacks on the top and the other arm weapons. And then a War Master, which has been absolutely incredible to build. I've built it, I'm just in the process of undercoating it and then, yeah, working on it. And I'm really looking forward to picking up an Iconoclast at some point in the not too distant future, hopefully. And then plastic direwolves coming out soon as well. Can't wait to add a pair of those to the setup. Back to the Reavers, and yeah, this is my least favourite of the chassis. The model in general from the range. The traditionally built one I didn't actually magnetise. It was the one that I did first out of the 2, and the kit just isn't designed for it. When I was working on this one, I just wasn't confident enough to make the sort of chops and changes to actually magnetise it. I do love this loadout though, it's pretty iconic, and I think the paint job's good. It's nothing too splashy, there's a few stripes on it, but not too much. Then with the second one, I did it much later, and I did work out how to magnetise, and that includes the Forge World Graviton Destructor on the top carapace. And speaking of the carapace, I'm really not happy with these stripes. They just didn't work in my mind, so one day I'll redo them with some chevrons maybe, like the Warhound. Now we're already at quite a long video. I just can't help myself with rambling and talking when it comes to Adeptus Titanicus and Titans. But if you'll indulge me, I'd love to just quickly talk about some of the knights that I finished for the attached House Vornher. I've got 4 Cerastus Knights, so a full banner of Lancers. 2 from the starter set, 2 that came in a box that I bought separately because they were the cheapest part of the range. These are a really fun kit to build. Very little in the way of customization, but they're quick, they're easy, and they are effective. There's just enough surface area on them to have some fun, not too much that they'd become too time consuming. And then finally, my last and latest model to actually be finished is the Acastus Night Porphyrion, the murder turtle, if you will. This was an absolutely amazing kit. Surprisingly, an awful lot of pieces into such a small model. And again, so much fun to paint. I do have another one of these actually unpainted. They come in pairs. Whether or not you want to field them and be that guy in pairs is another question, is another topic for another time, I guess. So there we have it. My finished Legio Praesagius, Titan Legion, attached House of Husvaulnr for Adeptus Titanicus and now Legions Imperialis. AT and LI, if we're abbreviating, makes it a bit quicker. I'd love to hear from you if you've painted up any of these kits, if you're also into playing and collecting Titanicus. Which chassis is your favourite and which Legio did you go for? YouTube is going to recommend you a couple of videos up here on screen if you fancied binging a bit of content. But before you head off on your way, please do slap that like button, double check that you are subscribed to the channel. I've been Tim, this has been my hobby for this week. I'll see you very soon on the next one. Cheers.